Hey folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Yes, I am borrowing that from Pyro. I have a very good intro there, my friend. Um, I want to come to you guys with the first video for today to be over Covenant, signature, and class-specific abilities. And we're going to be pulling this information from WoWhead. They have done an amazing job with gathering up this information. I want to continue trying to bring you more news as I can. And if you could do us a huge favor at the channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out with the algorithm and helps us, know that you like what we're bringing you. So we're going to just jump straight into it. If you don't know, the Covenants are the different factions throughout Shadowlands that we'll be able to team up with. And some of them will have, each one of them will have a signature ability that everybody will get. And then there's class-specific ones per Covenant. Let's dive right in, get into this. With the Kyrians, you have Summon Steward. Call your Steward to bring you a file of Serenity that can be consumed to restore some of your health and remove all curse, disease, poison, and bleed effects. Your Steward additionally offers access to a selection of useful amenities, each once per day. Instant cast, 5-minute cooldown, lasts 3 minutes. This sounds like someone that almost like a vendor, which is kind of cool. Next up, we have Venthyr, the Door of Shadows. Wend through the shadows, appearing at the targeted location. 35-yard range, 1.5 second cast time, 1 minute cooldown. So you kind of get a Reaper teleport, which is kind of cool. Necrolord, Fleshcraft. Form a shield of flesh and bone over 4 seconds that prevents damage equal to 20% of your maximum health. Channeling near a corpse claims their essence to grow the shield up to 50% of your maximum health. This is most effective against powerful enemies, 10-yard range, 4-second channel, 2-minute cooldown. Now that could be interesting. That could be really interesting. That, if timed correctly in a raid, or just before a raid pool, that could be really nice. I could see that's probably going to be something that will be used a lot in the Maw and in Torghast. Necrolords might be good for tanks. Give a little bit more damage absorption, or for PvP if you get enough time, to do it. All right, Night Fae. Soul Shape. Turn into a Vulpin, increasing movement speed. You may reactivate Soul Shape to teleport 10 yards forward. Additional cosmetic forms can be earned and collected through a variety of gameplay. While out in the world, this effect has a 12-second duration before it wears off, but lasts indefinitely while in a rest area. Instant cast, 1.5-minute cooldown. That is cool. And I've seen pictures of the other forms, which is a moth, a unicorn, stuff like that. If you want to see me cover the different soul shape forms, let me know down in the comments below. Now we're going to get into the specific class Covenant abilities. And again, I'm just wanting to bring this stuff to you, talk about my ideas on it. And of course, keep in mind this is all alpha content. So these numbers, cast times, durations, cooldowns can all change at any time. All right, Death Knights. On the Kyrian side, you have Shackle the Unworthy. Admonish your target for their past transgressions, reducing the damage they deal to you by 5%, and dealing 175% of attack power, arcane damage over 14 seconds. While Shackle the Unworthy is active on an enemy, rune spending attacks reduce its cooldown by 4 seconds. No cost, 30-yard range, instant cast, 1-minute cooldown. So this gives you a nice, a decent dot. 14 seconds, that's kind of long to put 175% of your attack power on. But reducing the damage by 5%, that's neat. And then to have it reduce its own cooldown by 4 seconds with rune spending attacks, within that minute, if you do your rune spending correctly, you should just be able to keep it stacked. That's an interesting one. That could be a lot of fun. Again, I would have to get my hands on this, really test it out. Venthyr, Swarming Mist. A heavy mist surrounds you for 8 seconds, increasing your chance to dodge by 10%, Deals 20% of attack power shadow damage every 1 second to enemies within 10 yards. Every time it deals damage, you gain 3 runic power, up to a maximum of amount of 15 runic power. 1 rune cost, instant cast, 1 minute cooldown. That's a tank ability right there. That's nice. Because it has that 20% tick every second, which can help with... I like that one. The Venthyr, you know, I was already thinking of sending my Death Knight to the Venthyr. That kind of, that works. Necro Lords. Abomination Limb. Sprout an additional limb for a limited time, 12 seconds, dealing 45% of attack power, shadow damage to nearby enemies. If an enemy is further than 8 yards from you, they are pulled to your location. That also could lean into tank pulls, because it's kind of like Orphene's Grasp, where it pulls in a bunch of enemies. But there's some good spells here. That could be a good one for Blood. Well, or for Unholy. Either way, it could, with Death and Decay being a baseline ability now for all specs, that would pull anything outside of that 8-yard range that you hit into that circle. That's really cool. Night Fae. Death's Due. Replaces Death and Decay. So interesting. Get a replacement spell here for Death and Decay, which is now a baseline ability. Night Fae. Corrupts the targeted ground, causing 3.6% of attack power times 11. They put it that way. Shadow damage over 10 seconds to targets within the area. Enemies deal 1% reduced damage to you, up to a maximum of 15% of their power is transferred to you as an equal amount of strength. Ooh, that's nice. While you remain within the area, your Necrotic Strike and Hard Strike will hit additional targets. Scourge Strike and Clawing Shadows will hit at all enemies near the target. Ooh, 1 rune and 10 runic power cost, instant cast, 30-yard range, 30-second cooldown. That's awesome. That could be an interesting PvP too. And that one is interesting. As you can tell, I'm a Death Knight main. Death Knight Paladin are my mains. These abilities, this makes the choice of your Covenant really personal. And I like that player customization, that player personal choice as to what you want. Each one has its benefits. Each one has its different, almost scenario specific things that would be really good for. So it depends on your play style. This is cool. I'm already really digging this whole Covenant abilities. So, all right, that's enough gushing about Death Knight. Let's move on to Demon Hunter. In the Kyrian, you have Elysian Decree. Place a Kyrian sigil at the target location that activates after 2 seconds. Detonates to deal 120% of attack power arcane damage and shatter up to 3 lesser soul fragments from enemies affected by the sigil. 30-yard range, instant cast, 1 minute cooldown. For the Venthyr, you have Sinful Brand. Brand an enemy with the mark of the Venthyr, reducing their melee and casting speeds by 30% and inflicting 400% attack power shadow damage over 8 seconds. Activating Metamorphosis applies Sinful Brand all nearby enemies. 30-yard range, instant cast, 1 minute cooldown. Alright, I'm going to look at these two. I don't know a lot about the Demon Hunter. I have one, I just haven't gotten to play it yet. But the second one, the Venthyr one, that sounds really cool. And could be good for tanking. Being it applies to Sinful Brand to all nearby enemies. Cool. Of course, we don't have a Necrolord one because it's work in progress. Night Fae, the Hunt. Charge to an enemy, inflicting 250% attack power and nature damage and rooting them in place for 3 seconds. That's, I standing corrected. That sounds very nice for tank. The target is marked for 1 minute, increasing your fury from demons, bite, and shear against them by 50%. You may reactivate the hunt every 30 seconds to teleport behind the marked target, ignoring line of sight. Ooh, if that works into PvP, that's nasty. That is dirty. 3-yard range, 1-second cast, 3-minute cool. Huh. That's interesting. All right. Now we're getting into the big one. Druids. Kyrian, Kindred Spirits form a bond with an ally. Every 1 minute you may empower the bond for 10 seconds, granting you an effect based upon your partner's role, and granting them an effect based on your role. In Guardian, you get Kindred Protection. Protect your bonded partner, redirecting 40% of damage they take to you, unless you fall below 20% health. And I'm going to apologize right now, my kids are outside playing. Hey, we're all stuck at home. But hey, nice to hear kids play. Restoration, Kindred Focus. Focus on your bonded partner, replicating 50% of all healing you do onto them. Then Balance / Feral, they have those together as one. Kindred Empowerment. Energize your bonded partner, granting them 1 primary stat for every 50 damage you deal. My wife Tally, she's the druid of the house when she was playing. So 2% base mana, 2.5-second cast, 40-yard range, 1 hour duration. And let's see, Venthyr, Ravenous Frenzy. For 20 seconds, druid spells you cast increase your damage, healing, and haste by 2% stacking. If you spend 1.5 second idle, the frenzy overcomes you, consuming 3% of your health per stack, stunning you for 1 second, and then ending. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Eesh. Ooh, ooh. That's a double-edged sword right there. That is a double-edged sword because it doesn't say how high it can stack. Instant cast, 3-minute cooldown. I mean, long as you continue to do damage and not be idle for 1.5 seconds. I mean, that's great for a battle, but then after that battle, you got to be expecting to take that damage in. So you'd probably have to drop form and cast a few healing spells on yourself to counteract that incoming damage. Necrolord, Adaptive Swarm. Command a swarm that heals 240% of spell power or deals 150% of spell power shadow damage over 12 seconds to a target and increases the effectiveness of your periodic effects on them by 20%. On expiration, travels to a new target within 25 yards, alternating between friend and foe up to 3 times. 40-yard range, instant cast, 25-second cooldown. That sounds a little random, but I could see the benefit of it, especially in a raid party if you're having to stack, or even in a dungeon if you're stacking, because that could help. That, I mean, again, it's random because there's no guarantee it would stay on the tanks, but that's interesting. Not my first choice if I was playing a druid, though. It'd probably be the Kyrians. Night Fae. Convoke the Spirits. Call upon the Night Fae for an eruption of energy, channeling a rapid flurry of 16 druid spells and abilities over 4 seconds. You will cast Moonfire, Wrath, Regrowth, Rejuvenation, Thrash, Rake, Shred, and Iron Fur on appropriate nearby targets, favoring your current specialization. That's cool. That is cool. Gives you a little bit of an auto cast, if I'm reading that correctly. Yeah. 4-second channel, 2-minute cooldown. That's awesome. That could be really cool. All right, we've covered druids. Now on to another class that I play. It's not a main, but it's one I do play, is the hunter. Actually, it was my first class when I first started WoW 15. Kyrian, Resonating Arrow. Fire a resonating arrow to the target location and fills the area with echoing anima for 10 seconds. The effect causes your attacks to ignore line of sight to enemies in the area, and you have 30% increased critical strike chance against them. 40-yard range, instant cast, 1-minute cooldown. So it gives you a corner shot, basically. Corner shot and a snipe. That's really interesting. Large battlegrounds, that could be really, really cool. Alright, the Venthyr, Flayed Shot. Fire a shot at your enemy, causing them to bleed for 250% of attack power, shadow damage over 20 seconds. Each time Flayed Shot deals damage, you have a 15% chance to gain Player's Mark, causing your next kill shot to be usable on any target regardless of their current health. 10 focus cost, instant cast, 40-yard range, 30-second cooldown. Not bad. Alright, next up we've got, Necrolord, Death Chakram. Throw a deadly Chakram at your current target, which will rapidly deal 50% of attack power shadow damage up to 7 times. Each time the Chakram damages a different target, its damage is increased by 15% and you generate 3 focus. So, nice little toss out, get to jump between targets, increase damage, and you regain focus. That's nice. That's cool. Night Fae, Bristleweed Trap. New trap, that's kind of cool. Throw a trap at the target location that makes a path of thorny weeds up to 20 yards long between where you threw the trap from and the targeted location. The trap will exist for up to 30 seconds. When an enemy approaches the trap, an area of bristleweed sprouts up for 10 seconds, dealing 20% of attack power, nature damage every 1 second, and snaring enemies by 10%, stacking up to 5 times, so up to 50% snare. If this reaches 5 stacks on an enemy, they are rooted for 6 seconds. Cool. And they have a side note here. This was missing from the Blizzard blog and therefore may be unused at this time. That could be cool, both for crowd control and for PvP. If, again, any of these Covenant abilities are usable in PvP. Excuse me. Now onto the Mage. Kyrian, Radiant Spark. Conjure a Radiant Spark that causes 75% of spell power arcane damage instantly and additional 29.6% of spell power damage over 8 seconds. Target takes 10% increased damage from your direct damage spells, stacking each time they are struck. This effect ends after spells. 2% of base mana, 1.5 second cast, 40-yard range, 30 second. Hold on, I'm guessing that's what it says range there, 30 second range. Venthyr, Mirrors of Torment. Conjure 3 mirrors to torment the enemy for 20 seconds. Whenever the target casts a spell or ability, a mirror is consumed to inflict 75% of spell power shadow damage, and their movement and cast speed are slowed by 15%. Final mirror will instead inflict 198% of spell power shadow damage to the enemy, rooting and silencing them for 4 seconds. 4% of base mana, second and a half cast time, 40-yard range, 1.5 minute cooldown. That is pretty cool. That is a neat spell. I can see a lot of that has some great implications. Necrolord, Deathborn. Transform into a powerful skeletal mage for 20 seconds. While in the form of a skeletal mage, your Frostbolt, Fireball, and Arcane Blast hit up to 2 enemies near your target, and your spell damage is increased 10%. 5% of base mana, second and a half cast time, 3 minute cooldown. Alright, I can see that one being very, very popular as well. I mean, getting the extra splash damage on your base spells, that's pretty cool. Coffee time. Night Fae, Shifting Power. Draw from the ground beneath you for 6 seconds, dealing 60% of spell power. Nature damage every 2 seconds. Nearby enemies, while channeling your mage ability cooldowns are reduced by... I don't have an exact figure there. Second every 2 seconds. 3,000 second. 5% of base mana, 6 second channel, 15-yard range, 45 second cooldown. I'd have to see the more specifics on that one, or see that in practice to probably truly understand that one. Alright, on to the monks. Kyrians, for the monks, you get Weapons of Order. For the next 30 seconds, your mastery is increased by 15%. Additionally, Windwalker's Rising Sun Kick cooldown is reset instantly, and your Rising Sun Kick reduces the cost of your chi abilities by 1 for 5 seconds. Brewmaster's Keg Smash cooldown is reset, and enemies hit by Keg Smash take 5% increased damage from you, stacking up to 5 times. Mistweaver's Essence Font cooldown is reset instantly and heals nearby allies for 240% of spell power on channel, start, and end. That hits twice, that's really nice. 10% of base mana, instant cast, 2 minutes. Healer wise, that's really good. It hits for that boosted amount on the front and back end of the channeling. Good front end big heal. Channels over that time period, heal for the base amount, and then hits again real hard at the end. Good for high damage. Getting the word I'm looking for. High damage points in raid or dungeon. Venthyr, Fallen Order. Opens a mirror for the next 24 seconds, summoning reflections of your orders fallen. Ox, Crane, and Tiger Adepts every 5 per 6 seconds. Fallen monks that have mastered Ox, Crane, Tiger style will attack your enemies with Egg Smash, Heal with Renewing Mist, Assault with Fists of Fury, and Assist for an additional 2 seconds. Note: was missing from the blog, therefore may be unused. Necrolord, Bone Dust Brew. Hurl a brew created from the bones of your enemies at the ground, coating all targets with Bone Dust Brew for 10 seconds. Your abilities have 50% chance to affect the target a second time at 20% effectiveness, shadow damage, or healing. 40-yard range, instant, 1 minute cooldown. Again, this was also missing from the blog, so may be unused. Night Fae, Feline Stomp. Strike the ground fiercely to expose a feline. Not feline, feline. I apologize. 30 seconds. Dealing 60% of attack power, nature damage, Brewmaster. Igniting enemies with Breath of Fire, Mistweaver. And healing allies with Essence Font Bolt. Walker and ripping chi energy spheres out of enemies. Your abilities have 10% chance of resetting the cooldown of Feline Stomp while fighting on a feline. Placement. Now we get into my other main class, the Paladin. For the Kyrians, Divine Toll. Instantly cast Holy Shock, Avenger Shield, or Judgment on up to 5 targets within 30 yards, based upon your current specialization. 30% base mana, 30-yard range, is 1 minute cooldown. I like this. Avenger Shield, that would be really nice, because that would almost simulate similar to what we've got with the my brain, with one of the Azerite powers that we have right now, which Avenger Shield hit multiple targets. That's really nice. Venthyr, Ashen Hollow. Hollow the target area, dealing 100% of spell power times 12. 1200. Shadow damage split among enemies and up to 12. Split among enemies and restoring 10 of spell power up to 12. Health split among injured allies over 12 seconds. The land remains filled with anima, causing 5% of spell power. Shadow damage to all enemies with over 1 minute. You gain the benefits of consecration while within the area. 30-yard range, second and a half cast, 4 minute cooldown. That's cool. That would be fun on my protection paladin. I like that one. Night Fae. Necrolord 1 is still in progress. Night Fae, Aura of Summer. Party members within 40 yards bask in your Aura of Summer, causing their attacks to have a high chance to deal 35% of attack power holy damage. No, missing from the blog, therefore maybe. Again, these are this, the second day of alpha, so a lot of this stuff is still very rough, very rough. Priests, the Kyrian, Boon of the Ascended. Draw upon the power of the Ascended for 10 seconds, granting access to Ascended Nova, replacing Shadow, Mind Flay, Discipline, and Smite with Ascended Blast, and increasing your movement speed by 50%. Upon expiration, releases an Ascended Eruption, explode for 150% of spell power, arcane damage, all enemies, and 200% of spell power healing to all allies within yards. Increased by 3% for each stack of Boon of the Ascended, 1.5 second cast time, 3 minute cooldown. That's neat. Venthyr, Mind Games. Assault an enemy's mind, dealing 200% of spell power shadow damage and briefly reversing their perception of reality. I wonder what that means. For 5 seconds, the next damage they deal will heal their target, and the next healing they do damage their target. Ooh, that's kind of cool. That could be really cool for PvP. I like the implications of that one. Necrolord, Unholy Nova. An explosion of dark energy heals allies within 15 yards for 150% of spell power and infects nearby enemies with Holy Transfusion. Unholy Transfusion deals 200% shadow damage over 15 seconds. Enemies who damage this target receive healing for 20% of spell power. 0.5% base mana, instant 1 minute cooldown. Nice. Night Fae, Fae Blessing. Your next 10 spellcasts send forth helpful spirits aiding your target depending on your chosen spell. Discipline, Shadowland, reduces damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. Powered Shield invigorates target with 2% mana or 20% resource. Powered Radiance reduces the cooldown of one of their major abilities by 3 seconds. Holy, Flash Heal, reduces damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. Heal, invigorates target with 2% mana or 20% resource. Prayer of Healing, reduces the cooldown of one of their major abilities by 3 seconds. And Shadow, Mind Blast, reduces a nearby ally's damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. Powered Shield, invigorates target with 2% mana or 20% resource. Void Bolt, reduces the cooldowns of up to 5 allies' major abilities by 3 seconds. So kind of the same thing, just spread out differently across whatever spec you are. 2% of mana, base mana, instant, minute and a half cooldown. Not in the blog, therefore maybe. Next, we got our Roguey Rogues. Stabby McStabbies, my least favorite thing to run into in PvP. The few times I do it. Tyrion, Echoing Reprimand. Deals 60% of attack power arcane damage to an enemy, extracting their anima to anima charge a combo point. Damaging finishing moves that consume the same number of your combo points as your anima charge deal damage as if they consume 7 combo points. Awards 3 combo points. That's going to be nasty. 30 energy, melee range, instant, 45-second cooldown. Venthyr, Slaughter. Slaughter the target, causing 95.472% of attack power physical damage. Target's anima mixes with your skill poison, coating your weapons for the next 5 minutes. Slaughter poison deals shadow damage over time and steals 15% of healing done to the target. This also awards 2 combo points. 50 energy, melee range, instant, requires stealth. Necrolord, Serrated Bone Spike. Embed a bone spike in the target, dealing 60% of attack power physical damage every 5 seconds until they die. Attacking with Serrated Bone Spike causes all of your active bone spikes to fracture. Strike your current target, increasing initial damage by a percentage up to 100% per spike. 10 in energy, 30-yard range, instant. Night Fae, Sepsis. Finishing move that poisons and a weakened foe's blood, dealing 12.53% of attack power, nature damage over 1 minute. Can only be used on targets under 35% health. Sepsis generates 5 combo points and 25 energy over 5 seconds. It does not last its full duration. And then got 375.9% of attack power over 8 seconds. 2 points, etc. The same up to 12, 16, 20, and 24, up to 5 points. Missing from the blog, may be unused. Shamans are next. Tyrion, Vesper Totem. Summon a totem at the target location for 30 seconds. Your next damage spells or abilities will cause the totem to radiate 50% of spell power plus 50% of attack power. Arcane damage up to 6 enemies near the totem. Next 3 healing spells will heal up to 6 allies near the totem for 100% spell power plus 100% of attack power. Health. Casting this ability again will, while a totem is active, will relocate the totem. 10% of base mana, 40-yard range, instant 1 minute cooldown. That's kind of cool. That's really nice. Alright, Venthyr, Chain Harvest. Send a wave of anima at the target, which then jumps to additional nearby targets, dealing 45% of shadow damage up to 5 enemies. Restores 100% 20% of spell power health up to 5 allies. Each target critically struck, cooldown of Chain Harvest is reduced by 5 seconds. 40-yard range, 2.5 second cast time, 1.5 minute. Necrolord, Primordial Bolt. Blast your target with a Primordial Bolt, healing 65% of spell power plus 65% of attack power, shadow damage, and apply Flame Shock to an enemy or Restoration. Heal an ally for 65% of spell power plus 65% of attack power and apply Riptide to them. Your next elemental Lava Burst, Enhancement, Lightning Bolt, Restoration, Healing Wave will also hit all targets affected by your elemental Flame Shock. Enhancement and Restoration, Riptide, 10% of base mana, 40-yard range, 2.5 cast time, 45-second cooldown. Missing from the blog, so maybe unused. Next up, we have the Warlock. Kyrian, we have Scouring Tithe, deal 100% of spell power, arcane damage instantly, and 144% of spell power over 18 seconds. The enemy dies while affected by Scouring Tithe. Generate 5 soul shards. Survive Scouring Tithe, its cooldown is refreshed. 2% of base mana, 40-yard range, 2 second cast, 40-second cooldown. Venthyr, in Catastrophe. Call forth a cloud of chaotic anima, travels to the target enemy. 100% of spell power, shadow damage to enemies within their path. When the anima reaches the target, it explodes, inflicting a random curse and dealing 261% of spell power, shadow damage over 12 seconds to all nearby enemies. 4% of base mana, 30-yard range, 2 second cast, 1 cooldown. Necrolords, Decimating Bolt. Hurl a bolt of shadow magic at your target, dealing 4 times 200% of spell power, shadow damage, and increasing the damage of your next Incinerate, Drain Souls, or Shadow Bolts by 250%. Decimation Bolts damage, bonus to Incinerate, Drain Soul, or Shadow Bolt, both increase as your target's health decreases. Nice ramp up as the fight goes on. 4% of base mana, 40-yard range, 2.5 second cast, 45-second cooldown. Sorry, new puppy and my older dog are playing outside. Nightface, Soul Rot. Wither away all life force of your current target and up to 3 additional targets nearby, causing them to suffer 100% of spell power nature damage over 8 seconds. Drain life will also be cast on any affected by your Soul Rot, consumes 20% of maximum health when cast. Ooh, that's a little dangerous. 40-yard range, 2.5 cast time, 1 minute cooldown. Missing from the blog, so maybe unused. And finally, we come to the warriors. We have the Kyrian, the Spear of Bastion. Throw a Kyrian spear at the target location, dealing 200% of attack power, arcane damage instantly, dealing an additional 260% attack power damage over 4 seconds, and generating rage. Enemies hit are tethered to the Spear of Bastion's location for the duration. Generates 25 rage, 25-yard range, instant cast, 1 minute cooldown. Nice way to, as even tank, to pull those enemies together in that one spot on a hectic pool. Implications of that are really nice. Venthyr, Condemn, replaces Execute. Condemn a foe to suffer for their sins, causing up to 2.2 times 92% of attack power shadow damage, only usable on enemies who are above 80% health or below 20% health. So a nice starter and finisher. Cool. Primary target is weakened, preventing up to 1 times attack power times 2.0 times 1 plus versatility. Not sure what the math is there. Damage that they would deal to you. Okay, so it's reversing some of that damage. If your foe survives, 20% of the rage spent is refunded. Not bad. 20 to 40 rage cost, instant cast, melee range, 6 second cooldown. That's kind of cool. Necrolord, Conqueror's Banner. Brandish the banner of the Necrolords for 2 minutes, increasing your movement speed by 10% and causing Mortal Strike, Arms, Raging Blow for Fury, Shield Slam for protection to grant you glory. Killing an enemy grants 2 stacks of glory. Reactivating this ability plants the banner in the ground, granting 20% of maximum health and 50% attack speed to you and 4 allies within yards of the banner. Lasts 2 seconds per glory, up to 30 seconds. Instant cast 2 cooldown. That's a nice balanced one for all 3 specs. Kind of like they want warriors to go to the Necro Lord. Kind of cool. Night Fae, Ancient Aftershock. Slam the ground with your weapon, releasing a shockwave, dealing 78% of attack power as nature damage and knocking up to 5 enemies down for a second and a half. Enemies hit take 6.2% of attack power nature damage every 1 second for 6 seconds. Transfer it to you as 6 rage. That's a nice tanking ability. Release the shockwave, knock them down, get some rage back, use it to gain more threat. That's really cool. 12-yard range, instant cast, 1.5 minute cooldown. So, that's a lot of information. Oh man. Really cool information. Implications of this are really cool, and I know this is a long video. But let me know down in the comments, guys. What do you think of this stuff? What abilities really stand out to you? Which ones are you looking forward to? Are there things that you're not so sure about the class that you enjoy? And of course, again, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this particular news, and look forward to more news here at Midlife Crits as we continue to cover the alpha here. So I am Crits, and we'll see you next time on the couch.